Okay, questions? Okay, Dr. Ennis.
I'll start. Good morning, Dr. Hall. A couple of questions. First of all, I compliment you on your Coco's, cookies, and a good book. The two events that I attended, I thought were very well attended by parents taking a good look at the books. I have to be honest with you, though, and say that I, like I'm sure many board members, have had a lot of concerns from community members about this particular curriculum. That is a free curriculum. Is that what? Okay, so what you are receiving free from them is the overall curriculum. You have then chosen to pare down that with specific units. Am I correct? So will the teacher resources, the teacher materials, whatever they receive, will they reflect the specific units that you have chosen for Wycomico County Public School students?
Yeah, so we are going to try to work with Fishtank to create our own Wycomico County portal. So the only units that would be available through that portal would be the units that are approved through the board. If we are unable to do that, Fishtank is aware that we will be utilizing a Google Drive to put everything into the Google Drive. So the teachers will only have access to the units that are available. It is a free curriculum, so they can have access to it even now. But the pacing guide, the scope and sequence will only reflect the units that have been approved, and we will make sure that it's only available either through the Google Drive or through our own Fishtank portal.
And so what we would be asked to approve would be just those units within that curriculum, not the full-blown Fishtank curriculum. Am I correct?
Correct. It was just the list of units that were shared, and if we are going to request further units to be approved, for example, next year, we would go through the same process again, and we would just add those units on to those that have been approved. So you won't see any of the other units that in anything else.
Okay, and so the almost $750,000 that you are requesting for this would be for the materials, the books themselves.
Yes, the books themselves, and understanding that each student in 2nd through 5th grade, in some cases, would have their own book.
Okay.
So if it's a novel that they are reading, each student has their own book. So the cost, as we move through the grade levels, it gets a little bit higher because we're buying multiple copies of books for the students. We really don't want to have them sharing. We want them to have their own copy. Especially if they're going back to the text. We want them to have that text in their hand.
And K1?
And I will add to that, unlike many years ago where we had the anthology and it was one hardback book that had all of the stories in there, pretty much all of the publishing companies, I think they now realize it's an opportunity to sell multiple books instead, that they're not sold as an anthology now, they're sold as individual books, and that's where the cost lies.
Okay.
And that reflects how we read. We don't pick up an anthology to read, we pick up a book to read.
K1, did you say that the books were individual for 2 to 5?
So in kindergarten and 1st grade, the focus is on decodable books. So applying those phonics skills. Before a student can read a authentic piece of literature, they have to have the skills to be able to decode the words. Right. So K and 1 students have books in their hands. Okay. It's just not the authentic literature that they start to see in 2nd grade. They're reading more decodables that are applying those skills. The independent reading collections will also allow us that opportunity for them to be exposed to the similar topic. And sometimes in kindergarten they'll flip through and tell the story themselves. So they'll have the opportunity to have books in their hands as well through the independent reading collections. But mainly in kindergarten and 1st grade, we're very focused on the decodable piece of it to make sure that they have the skills to be successful readers.
And one last question. What do you anticipate the teacher professional development looking like, and the time frame for this? When will it start? When do you anticipate that you will have this where you can say, okay, we've done our job?
It's a great question. My vision looks a little bit different than the way we've implemented curriculum before in the past. Teachers are very stressed when we hand them the curriculum that the back to school weeks in August. My plan, my goal, and my hope is that we can actually train the teachers before spring break, or before summer break. Ooh, we just had spring break. Before summer break, so that when they leave, they have the first unit in their hand. And so that way when they come back in August, it's not this overwhelming feeling that they tend to have with having a new curriculum. So the goal is to have the initial training before the summer break, to provide some training over the summer if teachers would like to participate in that as well. And then we are going to have professional development before they teach every unit. So before every unit, we will have what we call a launch unit time where coaches or curriculum teams will spend time thoroughly going through the unit with the teachers to ensure understanding before they teach it.
And I do have one more question, sorry. I'm assuming that with this piece here, with all the other pieces that you have put together with your literacy plan, this all aligns with the science of reading and therefore meets that standard of the science of reading that we're doing within the blueprint. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I will just expand on that a little bit. One of the pieces of the science of reading, of course, is the phonics and the foundational skills, which Dr. Hall put in place 2 years ago. This piece provides that information, that background text, the complex text, that building that background knowledge that we have been missing in the social studies and science content, because the units, as you can see, based on a lot of the titles, focus on science and social studies. So it's building that content background knowledge, because we know based on research about 60% of the assessments on state assessments are based on social studies and science content. So this curriculum does provide that connection with that science of reading.
Other questions? Mr. Palmer?
You mentioned that this curriculum was picked differently than others that you've done. Why is that, and how so is it different in the procedure?
We still followed the same procedure. I think what Dr. Hall was referencing was offering these extra parent nights, where in the past we just reached out to families where the teachers piloted the resource and only saw their feedback. But this time we thought, let's be more transparent, let's offer it to more parents, more people in the community. So we came up with this idea of offering those parent nights. So that's the piece that was different, was to just offer more opportunities to get the parent feedback for everyone to see all of the books that we're looking at for each grade level.
And the thorough vetting from the curriculum teams of all of the units.
And when you say pilot programs, I'm not real familiar with pilot programs, but it seems to me that pilot programs are done with students with material that has not been already approved by the board. What happens if you go all that time and trouble doing this and the board doesn't like it?
It's up to you to approve, and you do the final vote of the curriculum. So
I understand that part. But
so if you choose not to vote for this curriculum, then we would not be using that.
it seems like we're putting the cart in front of the horse here. I mean, why isn't it approved first for a pilot program? And then
we do have to use the materials in order to understand better if the materials are a good fit for Wicomico County. So we've done that with multiple different ELA resources that are out there on the market to choose from. And that's been the ongoing process that Dr. Hall and her 40-plus people have been doing for the past year, is looking at multiple resources, trying them out with students in the classroom to see if it's appropriate for our students in the county to use. I mean, that's essentially what a pilot is for any of the resources that we look at.
Who picks the program? I mean, the students.
Go ahead.
It's volunteer from teachers. I asked for volunteers from the teachers if they wanted to participate. They also had the option to back out at any point if they didn't think the program was suitable for their students. We had a program in which a number of teachers were overwhelmed and frustrated with the program and asked if they could stop piloting it, and immediately told them yes. So it was volunteer based on the teachers wanting to participate in it.
So parents are fully aware of the information that's coming out in this pilot, and they approve or disapprove of it.
It's shared with the parents by the classroom teacher.
Okay.
Just curious, you said that you looked at several curriculums and this one was overwhelmingly chosen. What was number 2? If this one hadn't been chosen, do you remember?
We had several that we looked at. We were trying to put together that one piece of the building the knowledge and through the complex text. That other program that went along with that would be similar to that was called Wit and Wisdom. Wit and Wisdom had 90-minute lessons, and they only covered one topic per semester. And that was actually the program that a lot of the teachers requested to not continue. Okay. The timing of it, Fishtank is very similar to Wit and Wisdom, but they're able to complete a couple more units, so the teachers like that option as opposed to being stuck within the same topic for an entire semester. That is the other program that fits very nicely with that foundational skills program that we already have in place. Other programs we looked at had everything together. We've seen a lot of tremendous growth in our phonics domain, in our iReady scores. So we don't want to throw out what we have going for us now. And so those teachers we had did pilot that program, and it's hard to pick and choose the materials with those programs as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions?
I have some.
Okay.
If there's gaps in the lessons where you guys are going to be pulling some of these books out, I know that you said that you had someone in the summer that's going to be rewriting the curriculum. Was there any reason that we didn't pick a curriculum that we didn't have to rewrite?
We're not rewriting the curriculum. We've gone through this curriculum, and I looked at the units and done what we called standards mapping to ensure that all of the standards are explicitly taught.
Okay. I remember asking at the meeting, I was a little concerned that we didn't have anybody that we'd contacted at a different county that had used this before. Did we talk to anybody since the meeting that has used this curriculum and was good with it, or they had a good, the kids had done well with it, or we didn't find anybody to talk to?
There's we haven't found anyone.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, I did not look for
That's okay.
other.
That's okay. That's all I have.
Anybody else have questions? Okay.
Sorry. Thank you for sharing your score improvement, the evidence with the 95%. I know how difficult that was to implement. But my question to you now is, what evidence will you be seeking to determine whether or not this program, this curriculum that you spent so long putting together is truly benefiting the students of Wycomico County?
So, Dr. Ennis, we're actually starting to see a gap in the iReady scores where we're starting to see the foundational skills of phonemic awareness and phonics we're starting to see some gains. We're not seeing the gains in the vocabulary and the comprehension domains. And we actually have some schools that are really starting to see that gap being created. And so that would be the first place we will look, as also looking at our MCAP scores as well. So those would be the two main areas that we would be looking at to see if we're making progress.
I'm not. I have one more question.
Okay.
I had some teachers contact me that were a little concerned about the amount of time that like kindergarten and first grade were required to be working on a part of a lesson. I think some of them were like 20 minutes alone assignments. if that doesn't work out, is that something that can be adjusted as we go along?
Absolutely. As I've alluded, there is going to be a lot of professional development that's going to have to go along with this. We do see our kindergarten students increasing with the rigor, and they are starting to write longer. We will have to build that stamina, because right now they just kind of put their pencil down and say, I'm done. But we also have to be careful with how much scaffolding we provide students so that we're not creating too many crutches for them. So it's going to be that balance of helping teachers understand the rigor with the high expectations as well as meeting the needs of the students.
So my question should have probably been asked in the beginning. So what are we using now and why are we moving to something new? I think you answered it with the test scores. I hear people laughing.
The test right now, Mr. Mullen, we have pieces of the Fontes and Pinnell classroom as we had been using the Lucy Calkins writing up until this year. It goes back to that building the knowledge and the complex text piece that is really missing, and that explicitly taught standards that is missing from our curriculum at this moment.
And what I read online about it, other than what you guys sent us, was this is based on a lot more critical thinking for the students. Is that a real basic part of this?
Yes, sir.
And that's why there's so much writing?
So much right, yes.
Okay.
And discussion. There's a lot of discussion with the students as well.
Okay. And the other one that we're using now didn't have the critical thinking or as much writing?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Palmer?
I got just one more. Results. I had heard that it could take as long as 4 or 5 years to find out if this program is really working as it was intended. Is that true?
I'm not sure where the 4 or 5 years came from, but we've seen immediate results from our 95% phonics implementation. So we should start to see improvement. There won't see drastic improvement immediately, but hopefully over a few years we will start to see some improvement. But we saw improvement immediately from the 95% phonics implementation.
Yeah, I thought that program was running well. In fact, when I had said earlier that some areas were doing pretty darn good with what we have, phonics was one of the ones that I thought was doing pretty well with what we were doing. So now we're going to change it.
No, sir. We're keeping the phonics piece of it. As I said, ELA is very complicated. It has lots of different pieces that go along with it. The easiest way to think of it is you have your phonics piece down here, and you have your comprehension piece down here. And we have to put all those pieces together to have successful readers. So we have the bottom piece. We need that top piece of the comprehension part of it, and this program's giving that comprehension piece of it.
And the phonics piece was adopted 2 years ago. So we've been using the phonics program the last 2 years, and that's why we're seeing that increase in our iReady and the phonics and phonemic awareness.
And you just can't
So
make
this is not something new.
modifications to the phonics? I mean, your
This-
curriculum?
That shows the different pieces.
No,
Slide.
the slide, yeah, back up.
Yes,
This piece, yes.
So what we're looking for, Mr. Palmer, is that where the pink arrows are, that's the gap that we're looking to fill in within our ELA framework that we have. And what we have right now, it doesn't provide that rigor, that complexity, and that evidence-based writing that we are looking for. We're not doing anything different with our phonics program because that is being successful.
And you plan on this starting this fall? Is that what you're hoping?
As soon as we are approved, we will be able to start.
Do you anticipate, I think increasing writing is fabulous, important. Do you anticipate any problems with the kids jumping right in and being able to do that? And the change?
as any indication of my little friend at Prince Street, there's going to be some that we might be more challenging to build up that stamina. But I think, as you can see from the picture that I showed, which is also from Prince Street of the little second grader and all his amount of writing, many times the students get excited about the topics that we're learning about and they want to write about it. Our kindergartners have a slide where our kindergartners tried to write the word chrysalis.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was very excited by the way that they had used their phonics skills to spell that out. But so we will see when they're very excited about a topic that they'll want to write about it. That's good.
I have one question about the books.
Sure.
What reassurance do we have that the teachers can't switch out some of the other books for the ones that you guys decided that you didn't want us to use?
Ms. Hazel, that would happen in any curriculum, unfortunately.
Okay.
We have to trust the teachers and that they will follow what is being shared with them. But it could happen with whatever we were to choose.
Okay.
We will provide everything to them, for them, make sure they have all the supports in place, give them the guidance that they need.
Mr. Brown.
One of the things I've heard a number of parents and teachers complain about is the fact that students aren't writing enough. So I'm assuming that this program is an attempt to address that, to get them away from holding a computer in their hand.
Yes, sir. We are going to try to have some balance between typing because they also have to learn typing skills, but especially in elementary world, handwriting is very important to us.
Right.
And so we would rather have the paper pencil.
Good discussion. Good questions. Any more?
I just want to add that I appreciate Dr. Hall, her team. Teams of teachers have been working on this for months, and I think that they very inspectfully did as much as they could to bring in outside sources and parents to be able to take a look at what this curriculum is offering and be unique in doing that. So I do appreciate the effort, not only that you've gone through, to bring everything together, but more importantly, the effort that you went through to bring in a lot of different perspectives from teachers, from students, and also from parents in the community. So thank you for doing that.
Okay. So I want to review the motion. The motion was to approve Wycomico County's Fishtank curriculum resource for first reading, and we did have a second. We'll move to a roll call vote. Mr. Palmer.
I'm going to vote nay on this.
Mr. Palmer's nay. Mrs. Hazel.
Nay.
Mrs. Hazel's nay. Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Brown's aye. Mrs. Beecham.
Aye.
Mrs. Beecham's aye. Mr. Plotz.
Aye.
Mr. Plotz is aye. Dr. Ennis.
Aye.
Dr. Ennis is aye, and the chair is aye. So we have 5 ayes and 2 nays. So the Fishtank curriculum resource for first reading is approved. Thank you both for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.